All right, what is up, everybody? We are back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today, we're going to be doing a redraft, fun little redraft. The 2015 NBA draft was 10 years ago, which is crazy because I watched this draft. I remember watching this college season and trying to think of the draft, and it makes me feel old. But today, we're going to be redrafting the 2015 NBA draft class 10 years later, seeing what players popped, what players didn't pop, all the stuff like that. That's what we're doing here in today's video. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn on notifications, doing all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. Really upset a lot. Link to my Twitter and all that stuff down in the description below. And yeah, don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. Starting off with the first pick in the 2015 NBA redraft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Devin Booker from Kentucky. He was originally the 13th pick, jumps all the way up to the number 1 pick. Kind of an easy one. I mean, his career, 2-time All-NBA, 4-time All-Star as his accolades, averages 24 points per game for his entire career, has been a Phoenix Sun lifer, just became the all-time leader in Suns history scoring, been one of the top guards in the NBA since really his second or third season. You know, he's just been absolutely insane. It's interesting to think. I was actually thinking of this the other day of like, remember at Kentucky on that crazy team, he wasn't even a starter on that team. He was just like a cool little six man that people thought could come into the NBA and be just like a good 3-point shooter, spacer, maybe a little bit of scoring. I don't think anybody expected him to be, a 25, 26 point per game bucket getter just on average. I don't think anybody expected that. So it's just crazy to see how much things can change going into the NBA, how he was given more opportunity and showed the bag he has. But Booker is amazing. He's one of my personal favorites to watch. I love his game so much. And he just got paid. He's got like about to be the highest paid player in the NBA, getting $71 million per year, in a couple of seasons. So yeah, Devin Booker has just been a true superstar, and he deservedly goes number 1 in the 2015 redraft. With the second pick of the 2015 redraft, the LA Lakers select Karl-Anthony Towns from Kentucky, originally the number 1 overall pick. He drops 1 spot to number 2, but definitely has a little bit of consideration and talks for number 1 overall pick for his career. 3-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year from this class, averages of 23 and 11 on 40% shooting from 3 in his career. And yeah, been one of the more talented offensive centers, offensive 7-footers we've seen in the NBA. Probably the greatest shooting big man of all time, consistent all-star level player. And yeah, just been really, really good, especially on a Minnesota Timberwolves team that hasn't really seen much success, especially when he got there. They weren't a successful team, but he's been really, really good. Consistent averages of at least 21 to 24 points per game, around 9 to 10 to even 12 rebounds sometimes, with solid assist numbers on really good shooting splits. I mean, his entire career, the worst he's ever shot from the field is 48%. The worst he's ever shot from 3 is 34% as a rookie. He's only taking 1 per game. I mean, he's had more years of shooting 40% from 3 than not. And on those shooting, he's shooting at least 4 to 5 a game. He had a year where he shot, 41% on 8 attempts. Like, 3-point shooting wise, insane. We know the talent he has offensively, in terms of scoring the ball, doing all that stuff. And he's been consistently a top 3 to 5 center in the NBA since really his second year in the league, when he was averaging 25 points per game. So yeah, he is really, really good. All-star, All-NBA type of guy now in New York, obviously. And yeah, just really, really special, talented player. And it's good to see the number 1 overall pick kind of pan out. You've seen in the past years, number 1 overall picks maybe didn't hit the level that we expected him to hit. Karl-Anthony Towns just hit that level. With the third pick in the 2015 redraft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Kristaps Porzingis from Latvia. Originally the 4th pick, jumps up 1 spot. Porzingis still has had a very good career despite all the injuries. I mean, he's had so many years of injuries. He missed the whole season in 2019. Then since he's only had 1 season since since his second year in the league, he's only had 1 year where he's played more than 60 games. That was in Washington in 2023. He played 65 games, had his best year. But it's been 48 games. Missed the whole season. 57, 43, 51 games. Last 2 years in Boston, 57 and 42 games. So we know about, his injury history, obviously, and that's been a big factor in his career. But even still, take away that, and he's still been good. A champion, an all-star level player, averaging over 19 points, 8 rebounds, and almost 2 blocks per game for his career. I mean, he's averaged 20 points per game since his all-star year in New York in 2018. He's averaged 20 every season except for last year. He averaged 19 and a half, and that's 19 and a half with having a sickness that he dealt with for a lot of the year. So he's been a consistent 20 points to 7, 8 rebounds and at least a block comfortably over a block per game, on some pretty solid shooting. Like just being a 7'3" game breaker that can shoot the three ball in a crazy clip, can score in the post, and is a really good shot blocker. Just like that skill set is just very rare to see. And it's crazy to see, despite all the injuries, he still had a pretty solid career. Like, you imagine what he possibly is without the injuries. Like, imagine he never tears his ACL in New York, in his All-Star season. Imagine he never gets hurt. Like, imagine what he could be in his career, how he'd talk about Porzingis. He definitely would be a multi-time All-Star, All-NBA like player. Like, it's crazy to think Porzingis has never made an All-NBA team. Like, that's kind of wild to think about with the talent, with how much talent he has on his team, with how much talent he has. Like, it's still crazy to think about. I'm looking at his basketball reference page right now. But yeah, still a very talented player, still deserving of going top 3 in the redraft. With the 4th pick in the 2015 redraft, the New York Knicks select D'Angelo Russell from Ohio State. He originally went 2, he drops a couple spots, but still finishes up in the top 5. D'Lo, the last All-Star from this draft, only 4 of them. D'Lo's the last one. He made it in 2019 with the Brooklyn Nets, and it still had a very solid career. Despite all the people that, talk down on D'Angelo Russell, with his time with the Lakers and all that stuff, he still had a pretty solid career. I mean, the years in Brooklyn, 15, 21, he's at 23 point per game season. And then he had years in Minnesota with 19 points, 18 rebounds, 6 to 7 assists per game. Career averages of 17 points and almost 6 assists. So he still had a pretty solid career, still in the league. He's going to be a 10-plus year veteran in the league, which is not something a lot of people in this draft class can say. So D'Lo, still a very solid career, still a very solid point guard, that can handle the ball, can play make very well, can shoot the ball, get on hot streaks, and just a good solid point guard to have on your team, especially as a backup. Like, that's a really good career. Yes, he was a number 2 overall pick. Yes, he had a lot of high expectations. After a great year at Ohio State, I was a big fan. I was a big believer that D'Lo was going to be an all-star, all-NBA level player. Unfortunately, that didn't really work out. But having a 10-plus year career on some solid teams in the NBA is still a good thing to have on your resume. So D'Lo still having a really solid career that's still going. I mean, he's not even 30 yet. Crazy that he's still not even 30. So he still has a lot more basketball left in him. With the 5th pick in the 2015 redraft, the Orlando Magic select Miles Turner from Texas. Turner doesn't have many accolades besides all-rookie team and led the league in blocks for 2 years, career averages of 14 points and over 2 blocks per game. But a starting center in the league for 10-plus years is not something many people can say. And that's what Miles Turner has. I mean, we know how impactful he's been on the Indiana Pacers and that organization. He's been a starter for basically his entire career except for the first half of his rookie season. Since then, he's been a starter on this team. With the last 3 years specifically, his numbers have jumped up to averaging 18 points, 17 points, 15 points, guaranteed at least around 2 blocks per game in a season. Really good, solid three-point shooter, too. I mean, the last couple years, he shot at least 34, 35% on at least 4 attempts from 3. So your prototypical kind of 3-and-D center, which is not something you see around too often, but Miles Turner has made a career off of that. And even though he doesn't have the crazy numbers or the accolades that the guys in the top 4 or anything that like that have, he has consistency. He's been a consistent starter in this league. He's going to be a consistent starter in this league for over a decade, at the center position, and being really impactful on both ends, not just being a defensive, block shot type of guy, but also be able to contribute on the offensive end and be a 13, 14, 15 plus per game scorer on, and being one of the better 3-point shooting big men you have in the league, and being a guy that a lot of teams, you ask any team in the league, they would love to have a Miles Turner type of center on their team. So I think that's a very successful NBA career for Miles, and he goes top 5 in the redraft. With the 6th pick in the 2015 redraft, the Sacramento Kings select Norman Powell from UCLA. He had one of the biggest jumps in this redraft. He originally was the 46th overall pick. He jumps all the way up to being a top 6 pick. Powell's made a pretty solid career for himself. The first 2-3 years of his career was kind of just like a bench mob piece for a good Raptors team. Won a championship in 2019. And then since 2020, he's been just really good. 16 points, 18 points, 19 points, 17, 14. Last year had a career year averaging almost 22 points per game. He's finished top 5 in 6 Man of the Year voting 2 years at 23 and 24. Last year, probably would have won Most Improved Player if he was eligible, played enough games in the second half of the season. But just a really solid career that's still getting better at 32 years old. He's still getting better, which is insane to think about. But just being a guy that is a bucket getter, consistently good shooter. He shot 40% from 3 more times than not in his career, which is a really good stat to have. Since 2020 has started, he's averaged 17 and a half points per game. You know, for not being a superstar, all-star type of guy, being a guy that's come off the bench for half of those games in the 2020s, that is a really good stat to have. So Norman Powell, I mean, great. I mean, great to be a guy that, again, was 46 overall pick. When you're drafted at 46, you are hoping for maybe a guy that could be a 10th man in the rotation. You know, maybe a guy that can come in and give you some good 12 to 15 minutes per game. And if you get that, you're good. You feel okay. But to get a 46 overall pick that has turned into the kind of player Norman Powell is, it just really says a lot about his work ethic. So shout out to Norman Powell for having an amazing career that's still going. You know, he's still only 32. He still has a couple years left in the league. And going from being that low of a pick to finishing what? In the redraft, you're probably a consensus top 10 player in the draft class. Getting them at 46 is just insane. With the 7th pick in the 2015 redraft, the Denver Nuggets select Bobby Portis from Arkansas. Portis jumps up. Originally was a 22nd pick, jumps all the way up to 7th overall. Portis was a guy where the first couple years of his career, he was kind of just a cool little, backup forward, in Chicago, Washington, New York. Then found his man in Milwaukee, and since then has really found a home for himself. I mean, won a championship. Milwaukee was a big piece of a championship team in 2021, and since then it's just playing the best basketball of his career, averaging consistently around 14 points per game on solid efficiency. Finished top 3 in 6 Man of the Year voting twice in 23 and 24. Probably would have got a decent amount of votes again this year if he didn't get suspended for the second half of the season. But it's just been, not only just his basketball play. I mean, he's a really solid basketball player. He's really, again, grown into being a solid shooter and a good mid-range scorer and all that stuff. But just the energy and being just a guy, that has a home and being a staple in the city where people in Milwaukee love Bobby Portis. Like, people in Milwaukee, he probably won't get his jersey number retired, but fans in Milwaukee are going to be, advocating for him to get his jersey retired or having something to do with the Milwaukee Bucks when he retires or when he leaves, because he's such a integral piece of the city. I mean, one of his nicknames on Basketball Reference is the Mayor of Milwaukee. Like, every time he has a moment, people in the stands are chanting, Bobby, Bobby. Like, just having that, not many players, especially that aren't like superstar, all-star, all-NBA type guys, not many players like that can have their own type of calling card and their own type of fandom, that's that huge as what Bobby Portis has in Milwaukee. So that in itself is a win, in your career. But he's also had a pretty solid NBA career that's still going. I mean, he's still 30 years old, still has a lot more basketball left off that bench in Milwaukee. And I hope he kind of stays there for the rest of his career, which I'm assuming he's probably going to stay there for as long as he possibly can. With the 8th pick in the 2015 redraft, the Detroit Pistons select Terry Rozier from Louisville. Originally was the 16th pick, jumps up to 8th. Rozier, I know now, there's a lot of things going on outside of basketball about Terry Rozier and betting and stuff that, and last year he had a worst year of his career probably, since becoming like a good NBA player. Last year was very bad. But you take that away, don't forget that Terry Rozier was really, really good at one point. That year in Boston where, the playoff season where he destroyed Eric Bledsoe and was a huge part of that young Celtics team going far, was his first big moment. Then he went to Charlotte. And in Charlotte, he was, look at the numbers in Charlotte. He was amazing. I mean, I know it was the Hornets and they were not good, but you can't deny he averaged at 18 points, 20 points, 19 points, 21 points. The year he got traded from Charlotte to Miami, the 30 games he played in Charlotte, he averaged 23 points per game. Like, he was a bucket getter for the Charlotte Hornets on pretty decent efficiency, especially shooting from 3. I mean, shooting 38% from 3 on 8 attempts is kind of crazy. But Rozier was a really good bucket getter and had stretches in his career that were like, dang, Terry Rozier is actually good. Like, I wish he got traded to a good team and he went to Miami. Unfortunately, things Miami haven't really worked out well, and who knows what the future holds for his NBA career. But Rozier's had, some pretty high ups, a lot more higher ups than a lot of other people below him, in this redraft. So Rozier's ups and, his time in Charlotte was a big factor in why he goes this high in the redraft. With the 9th pick in the 2015 redraft, the Charlotte Hornets select Kelly Oubre from Kansas. Oubre was originally the 15th pick, jumps up to 9. Oubre's had a pretty solid career. I mean, he doesn't really have many awards in his numbers. Career averages of 13 points, 4 assists, a steal. But he's had just a really solid career, coming off, since 2018, he's been a consistent double-digit scorer. The last 6 years, he's averaged at least 15 points per game. Last 7 years. Since his 4th year in the NBA, since 2019, he's averaged at least 15 points every year. For 15, 18 in Phoenix, 15 in Golden State, 15 in Charlotte, where he got 6 Man of the Year votes, 20 in Charlotte, 23. Then last 2 years in Philly, 15 and 15. just being consistent 15-point per game score. The numbers, the shooting numbers don't stick out to you. It's not like he's an elite defender or anything like that, but just be able to consistently get buckets, consistently score, consistently provide you energy and dunks, and is going to try hard. And just having that is really good to have. He's had a pretty solid career. He's bounced around a little bit, but maybe Philly now is kind of going to be his newish home, where he's been pretty solid in Philadelphia with numbers wise. But yeah, just being a 15-point per game scorer, being a energetic wing that will give you some nice moments here and there, and that's pretty good to have on your team. So he goes top 10 in the redraft. With the 10th pick in the 2015 redraft, the Miami Heat select Montrezl Harrell from Louisville. Harrell, originally the 32nd pick, jumps all the way up to top 10. Harrell, I mean, we haven't seen him around in a little while, but it's crazy to think, because at first I knew Montrezl Harrell was in this draft, and I was thinking, like, how am I going to place him in the redraft? But looking at him compared to everyone else, it's insane that he still ends up top 10 despite he hasn't played an NBA game in 2 years. Almost 3 seasons. It could be 3 seasons since he's played in the NBA. And he still ends up going top 10 because his numbers and what he did in the NBA is still good. I mean, career averages of 12 and 5, 6 Man of the Year winner back in 2020. He's played over 500 career games and had a stretch. I mean, once he got to the Clippers, from 2018 to 2022, he was averaging 14 and 6 on 61% shooting. He had years of 16. He had 4 years in a row of finishing with 6 Man of the Year votes. Finished top 3 in 2019, 1 in 2020, 6th in 2021, even 9th in 2022 on Washington and Charlotte. He played 71 games. He still finished top 10 in 6 Man of the Year voting. Like, he's just crazy. Like, he had such a short career, like only playing 8 years in the league. And even his last year at Philly, 57 games, he averaged only 5 points per game. And his rookie year, he didn't even play. He averaged 3 points in 39 games. So realistically, only like 6 real years of playing in the NBA. And yeah, he still finishes top 10 in this redraft, because his high when he was in the league and winning and being on the Clippers, he was really good, man. As a center that, was undersized but had really good game, ferociousness, aggressiveness, intensity, be able to get to the basket, had the little mid-range pull-up, blocking shots. Like, he was pretty good. So it's insane to think. I mean, he's still only 31 years old. So it's still crazy. Like, he's just gone. He's just out of. I think about it sometimes. Like, Montrezl Harrell was just out of the league when 4 or 5 years ago he was like one of the better 6-man that you could have on a team. So yeah, Montrez, shout out to him. Hope he's doing well. I think he's in the big 3 playing. Hope he's doing well. And yeah, he still ends up going top 10 in the redraft. With the 11th pick in the 2015 redraft, the Indiana Pacers select Josh Richardson from Tennessee. Richardson, I mean, he popped off the 40th overall pick originally, jumps all the way to 11. That's pretty successful. In Miami, the early Miami days, he was really good. He popped onto the scene, had a year averaging 16 points per game, then bounced around in Philly, Dallas, Boston, San Antonio, New Orleans, came back to Miami. Played actually 8 games last year, which I don't even remember at all. Well, he was really bad in those 8 games. It looks like his NBA career is on the brink of being over. But still, I mean, career averages of 11 points per game, playing over 550 career games. Was just a really good two-way wing at one point, especially, again, his early days in Miami. He was averaging 12, 13. He had a 16-point per game season on pretty decent shooting, while also giving you some really good defense as a guy that could also handle the ball a little bit as a 2. So, yeah, and a guy that you think of, and you prototypically, you kind of think like, yeah, I'd like to have a Josh Richardson. Having a 6'4", 6'5" guy that can play a 2 and 3, that can handle the ball, that can defend really well, that can give you some scoring punch. A little bit, like, you think about that and you're like, yeah, I would like to have that on my team. And he did. He was on really successful teams in Miami, in Boston. He was solid. Like, San Antonio has some decent moments. So, like, he had some pretty good moments in his career. Going from, again, kind of like what I said with Norman Powell, going from being the 40th overall pick, being a guy that was probably wasn't going to have a long NBA career, to playing, eking out 10 seasons and having some good years and being a consistently solid player in his career, that's a really big win. With the 12th pick in the 2015 redraft, Utah Jazz select TJ McConnell, the first undrafted guy from this class. Was undrafted, ends up going in the lottery out of Arizona. McConnell doesn't have the numbers or anything like a lot of the other picks have, but be able to go from being an undrafted guy to playing over 700 games in the NBA is insane. I mean, we know about his playoff run, his finals run just now in 2025. That was really good. But consistently has been a really good 6-man. I mean, he's had a couple years of getting 6-man votes. You know, I mean, only averaging 7 points, 5 assists for his career on 51% shooting, which is insane for a 6 foot guard to average 50, shoot 51% for the field. But just being able to be a good energy guy coming off the bench, big someone that you can consistently put on the floor. You'll feel confident that he's going to give you something, whether it's a inbound steal or a really nice dime or, scoring a couple baskets in a row. It just plays hard, man. One of the hardest playing and high effort guys in the NBA. So it's just really cool to see him, go from, again, being an undrafted guy, being undrafted 6'1" point guard. Those usually, that's not even heard of in the NBA, of a undrafted 6'1" point guard coming in and, eking out and finding a 10-plus year career of being a really good backup. That sounds impossible, but McConnell's come in, he's done that. So shout out to TJ, and still continuing, still going to be around in Indiana, and hope he has get a good rest of his career, obviously. With the 13th pick in the 2015 redraft, the Phoenix Suns select Tyus Jones from Duke. Jones originally goes 24, ends up going in the lottery 13 in the redraft. Jones is personally, for me, one of my favorite non-star point guards. Like, if I didn't have a superstar point guard like a Luka, Steph, Brunson, like obviously that type of mold, if I didn't have a superstar, all-star level point guard, I would want a point guard like Tyus Jones. Because you know what you're going to get from him. He's going to come in and he's not going to do much wrong on the basketball court. I mean, he always makes the right play, makes the right pass, puts people in the right position. He's going to be an efficient shooter. Like, he just is like a high IQ, prototypical floor general point guard that you would want on a team. And he's done that. He's been on some disappointing teams with Phoenix and Washington the last 2 years. But that shouldn't take away from the fact that he's been an impactful NBA player. I mean, his career averages of 7 points, 4 assists, multiple years with 6 Man of the Year votes. Those years in Memphis when John Morant was out and he was coming in and having to start some games. He was really good on those teams. Even back in Minnesota when he was really young. The numbers don't pop out, but I remember the impact he was making over there. So yeah, Tyus, just a really solid, good point guard in the league now in Orlando, which I'm really excited about. Hopefully he can bring some steady play over there and just be out there consistently. He hasn't really gotten too much injury prone. I mean, the least amount of games he's played in his career besides his rookie year has been 60. So he's usually been a guy that has been there for majority of the season. So hopefully he can stay there in Orlando and can just give you some good. He's just a really good basketball player, really high IQ, good basketball player that I want, being either my backup point guard or prototypically my backup point guard. That's just going to come in and not going to do too much wrong on the court. I personally am a huge fan of Tyus Jones since his Duke days. I remember because this pick originally at 24th was the Cavs pick. And I was really bummed that we had to trade him to the Timberwolves as part of the Andrew Wiggins trade. I was really bummed that we had to trade Tyus Jones. I was a big fan of Tyus Jones at Duke and big fan of him in the NBA as well. With the 14th pick in the 2015 redraft, the OKC Thunder select Kevon Looney from UCLA. Looney, originally the last pick of the first round at 30, goes all the way and rounds out the lottery. Looney was an interesting one to rank in this redraft because, again, the numbers don't stick out at all. I mean, career averages of 5 points, 5 rebounds. Has never averaged more than 7 points per game in a season, but 3 NBA championships. And for 2 of those rings in 2018, he played 21 games in that run. In 2022, he played 22 games, started in 13 games in that playoff run. So he's been huge impact to winning. Like all of his winning and all of his advanced numbers look great because he's been on great teams, but he's been impactful in those winnings, despite his numbers only being, again, 5 points, 5 rebounds for his career. Played in almost 600 career games. He's played in almost 100 playoff games in his career. I mean, that is very good for him, just being a center that just not afraid to do the dirty work, man. Like, guy that will come in and just do whatever it takes, whether it's rebounding. He's been a really good, one of the better offensive rebounders in the game the last couple years. Offensive rebound, isn't afraid. Like, the most shots he's ever taken in a season is 4. Like, he doesn't usually take more than 5, 6 shots in a game. And he's okay with that. He's okay with having a rebound, having to box out, having to set screens all the time, for Steph to get open. He's not afraid to do that. And if you're willing to do that, especially when he was like a high-ranked high school player and went to UCLA and all this stuff, he sacrificed for his NBA career. And now being able to say, I played 600-plus games in the NBA and I played 10-plus years and have 3 championship rings to prove it, is just really good. So shout out to Loon Dog. With the 15th pick in the 2015 redraft, the Atlanta Hawks select Royce O'Neal from Baylor. This pick ended up going to the Washington Wizards in a trade. Royce O'Neal, our second undrafted guy, was an undrafted player, ends up going in the mid-first round in the redraft. O'Neal has really worked his way out, from being an undrafted guy to coming into Utah, becoming a rotational player to becoming a starter on really good teams that were number one in the West behind next to Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert and them. The last couple of years, he went in Brooklyn and in Phoenix. The last couple of years, he's been pretty solid. It's just been really solid, prototypical kind of role wing player that is not afraid to play the 3 or the 4 despite being 6'5", 6'6". Even Basketball Reference, he's 6'4" actually, which is dang, he's only 6'4". That doesn't feel right, but okay. Not afraid to do the dirty work. He's going to shoot the 3 ball at a pretty consistent rate. He's been a 38+% 3-point shooter for his entire career. He's been for career shoots 38% from 3. He's going to rebound the ball. He's going to be a really good defender, really solid perimeter defender. Not afraid to guard bigger players. Not afraid to guard star players. Just that's what you want out of role players, wings that come off the bench. And Royce O'Neal has made a really good career in doing that, going from again being undrafted to he started playing at Denver University in college, ended up going to Baylor, then ends up being a guy that's played 600 games in the NBA. So that's really cool from Royce O'Neal. Shout out to him. With the 16th pick in the 2015 redraft, the Boston Celtics select Christian Wood from UNLV. Wood, another undrafted guy. We have 3 undrafted players going in the first round of 2015. There's going to be one more coming later. But yeah, Christian Wood, another undrafted guy, ended up, going in the first round. Career averages of 13.7 rebounds. Was a guy that was a journeyman the first couple years, then had a good stretch, 4-year stretch from 2020 to 2023, where 13 in Detroit, then had a 21 point per game year in Houston, then another 18.10 rebound year in Houston, and then a 16 point per game year in Dallas, where he finished top 10 in 6-man. Also finished top 5 in 6-man in 2020 with Detroit. Unfortunately, now his career is kind of in question. He hasn't played in a while. Played in 2024, 50 games for the Lakers, and didn't play last year. I don't remember the last time I've seen Christian Wood play. I feel like he kind of just disappeared off the face of the earth, apparently. But his highs were pretty good. And at this point, when you're in the mid to late first round, at this point in the redraft, you're just looking for, who had the highest ceiling and who had the highest highs. And Christian Wood has some high highs, even though, again, there are some bad teams in Detroit and Houston. He still produced. Shooting over 50% for the field, 38% from 3, give you at least 13 to 15 points with 10 rebounds, has some years of, again, a 21 point per game season. It's not easy to average 20 points per game in the NBA. And for him to be able to do that in Houston in another year of 18 and 10, just really good numbers from Christian Wood. Maybe, he's still only 29 years old. So maybe there is another shot for him somewhere in the NBA at some point. We'll see. But Wood has some pretty solid years in the league. With the 17th pick in the 2015 redraft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Trey Lyles from Kentucky. Lyles originally a 12th pick, drops down to 17. Lyles has played a lot in the league. He's played, I think, the 6 most games in this draft class, the 650 games in the league. And he's bounced around in Utah, Denver, San Antonio, Detroit, Sacramento the last 3.5 seasons he's been there. Had a good year in 23 where he was a key bench piece in that team. That was a 3rd seed. Had a year of averaging 10 points per game in 2022. Career averages of 7 points per game on 44% shooting. And it's just been a really solid NBA wing. Again, 650 games in the league is not easy to do. And being a guy that was a top high school pick, had a really good year at Kentucky. And unfortunately, just hasn't really found his big spot in the NBA. But be able to be a consistent, come off the bench and, provide some good minutes. Provide good 18 to 20 minutes. Give you 7 points a game. On pretty decent efficiency shooting, that's pretty solid at this point in the draft. So Trey Lyles, shout out to you. Give us some really good minutes in the NBA. With the 18th pick in the 2015 redraft, Houston Rockets select Larry Nance Jr. from Wyoming. Larry Nance originally the 27th pick, jumps all the way up to 18th. Nance has had a good 10-year career, played over 540 games in the league, has some good moments for the Lakers. With the Cavs, probably was his best years. Had a year he averaged over 10 points and 7 rebounds per game, 52% shooting in 2020 in Cleveland. Last couple years, he's been dealing with injuries. Played at Portland, New Orleans, Atlanta. He played only 24 games last year. But now he's back in Cleveland, re-signed with the Cavaliers, which I love. Shout out to Larry Nance, one of my favorite Cavaliers. And yeah, just a really solid big man that is just high IQ basketball player. Can handle the ball a little bit, makes the right passes. About his dunking ability. Really good defender too, an underrated defender as well. I think Larry Nance is a really solid basketball player at this point. Give you some decent big minutes off, decent center minutes off the bench. It's just something you can ask for him to do, and he could do it pretty solid. So the hometown kid of Ohio is back at Cleveland and goes 18th in the redraft. With the 19th pick In the 2015 redraft, the Washington Wizards select Rashawn Holmes from Bowling Green. This pick ended up getting traded to the New York Knicks. Holmes originally went 37th, ended up going 19th. Holmes has some good moments in the NBA. I mean, I know he's kind of been forgotten about the last couple years. Been in Sacramento, Dallas, Washington. I think, is he still in Washington right now? I honestly don't even know where he is right now if he has a job in the league. But I remember early years in Philadelphia, I was kind of like, dang, Rashawn Holmes is actually pretty decent. Like, I think he should get some opportunity. Then he had a year in Phoenix was solid. Then he got to Sacramento. His first couple years in Sacramento before Domantas Sabonis got there, he was pretty good. I mean, 12 points and 8 rebounds a game. He had a year in 2021. He averaged 14 points, 8 rebounds, and over 1.5 blocks per game, 63% shooting. He was just a good, even though he was a little bit smaller, only a 6'9", 6'10 center, being someone that really athletic, with long arms, can block shots, go catch lobs, had the little push shot. I mean, he was pretty nice this time. Then, he averaged 10 and 7, and then he got Domantas Sabonis got there, and he stopped playing. Went to averaging 3, 5. Last year, he averaged 7. So, yeah, his numbers have gone down. He's kind of been forgotten about in the league. But Rashawn Holmes has been pretty solid. Has some decent moments in the league. Playing almost 500. If he plays a little bit next year, he'd be at 500 career games, which is really nice. 60% from the field for his career is pretty nice as well. With the 20th pick in the 2015 redraft, the Toronto Raptors select Delon Wright from Utah. Wright, the first and only player in this redraft that goes in the same spot he went originally. Originally, he was the 20th overall pick to the Raptors, ends up going 20th overall to the Raptors. Delon Wright, playing almost 550 games in his NBA career, has been pretty solid. In Toronto, his first couple years, he's pretty nice as a backup point guard. That was pretty good. Then has bounced around a lot. Has played for a lot of teams in his career. Went to Memphis, Dallas, Detroit, Sacramento, Atlanta, Washington, Miami, Milwaukee, New York last year. He's played on a lot. He's played on, I think, 3, 6, 9, 10 teams in 10 years of his career. Pretty insane. But, I mean, he's always been able to keep a job. Really good defensive guard. I mean, averaging over 1 steal per game for his entire career. Pretty good defensive guard. Brings the energy. Can be a solid handler of the ball as well. And, yeah, just has been able to, I mean, he's playing on a lot of teams, but, I mean, at least teams want him. He's been able to find his way to get 10 years in the league and over 550 games at 33 years old. So good on, Delon Wright for able to do that. Like, really good 2K player as well. Like, really good. I mean, we get him as backup point guard in 2K, just gets so many steals, With the 21st pick in the 2015 redraft, the Dallas Mavericks select Pat Connaughton from Notre Dame. Connaughton, originally the 41st pick, goes all the way to 21 in the first round. Connaughton, NBA champion, was a player on that championship team, spent the last couple years in Milwaukee where he's really found a home. Career averages of 6 points per game. Just a really solid energy guard off the bench that could give you some dunks. Can shoot the ball pretty well from 3. The last couple years of his career, unfortunately, hasn't really been super impactful. But, I mean, he's, again, NBA champion, has had some solid years. And, again, going from being a 41st overall pick, this is kind of like a prototypical, the best of what you want at a 41. The guy that's going to play 10 years in the league is going to give you a good 20-something minutes off the bench, and it's going to give you solid production. And that's what Pat Connaughton has done, and that helped him win NBA championship in Milwaukee. So shout out to Pat Connaughton, for being able to have a really solid NBA career. With the 22nd pick in the 2015 redraft, the Chicago Bulls select Cameron Payne from Murray State. Payne originally the 14th pick, drops to 22. But good for Cameron Payne, where the first couple years of his career, it looked like he was going to be a huge bust. The first 4 years of his career, he averaged 6 points per game, shooting less than 40% from the field. He was in OKC, Chicago, Cleveland for a handful. It was like, man, like, he had to go overseas. He was out of the league, and then find a way to come back to Phoenix and really revive his career. For the last couple years of his career, I mean, had 3 years in Phoenix, averaging over 10 points per game, being a backup point guard on one of the better teams in the league at the Suns, a team that was all the way in the NBA Finals. He was a rotational player, on that team, and now has just made himself a pretty decent backup point guard in the league. So shout out to Cameron Payne for being able to, come back from early year, struggles, early career struggles, to finding a way back into the league and sticking there for a little while. With the 23rd pick in the 2015 redraft, the Portland Trail Blazers select Cedi Osman from Macedonia. This pick ended up going to the Brooklyn Nets. Cedi hasn't played in the league in a little while. It's been a year since Cedi's playing in the league, and probably isn't maybe coming back. I don't know. But he has some pretty solid years in Cleveland. 4 years in a row, averaging double-digit points, 13, 11, 10, 10. Shooting, well, not amazing from 3, career averages of 9 points. but pretty decent NBA career. I mean, played almost 500 career games. It was very close. If he comes back and plays another year, he would be at 500 career games in the NBA. And yeah, pretty solid wing, that could shoot the ball a little bit, has some scoring moments at sometimes, defensive moments at sometimes. And I'll never forget that picture after his rookie year of Jetty Osman working out with LeBron, KD. Remember that picture of LeBron, KD, Kawhi, all of them working out, and then Jetty Osman was just sitting on the side. So we're like, why is Jetty Osman there? But shout out to, I mean, as a kid, if you don't know, I'm a Cavs fan. And yeah, Jetty, shout out to him. Been around set, played 6 years for us. And was pretty decent in those 6 years. So shout out to Jetty, and hope he's balling out over there wherever he's playing at now. With the 24th pick in the 2015 redraft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Willie Cauley-Stein from Kentucky. This pick ended up getting traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Originally, the 6th overall pick drops all the way down to 24, but still ends up getting taken because he had a couple good statistical years. And at this point in the draft, it's getting kind of thin, you know. But Willie Cauley-Stein had a couple years in Sacramento, had a year he averaged almost 13 points and 7 rebounds, 50% shooting. In 2018, 2019, he averaged 12 points and 8 rebounds on 55% shooting in 81 games he played. And yeah, unfortunately, just didn't work out. You would think he probably would have stayed around the league a lot longer as a 7-foot center that was a athletic monster. The guy that was just blocking shots and dunking, really. And that's like what you want as a center now. But unfortunately, things didn't really work out for him. Had a lot of other issues that he talked about in interviews and stuff that I've heard about. And yeah, just also real for Sacramento to pick a center when they already had DeMarcus Cousins. That was just really weird as well in the moment. But yeah, I mean, shout out to Willie. Hopefully, I don't know where he is right now. If he's overseas, if he's in, G League, I don't know where he is right now playing. But shout out to him. Hopefully, he's doing really well. And yeah, I mean, I remember he had some nasty posters and dunks in the league. I remember that. With the 25th pick in the 2015 redraft, the Memphis Grizzlies select Frank Kaminsky from Wisconsin. Kaminsky received the 9th pick, drops all the way to 25. Kaminsky had a couple of decent scoring years in the league. I mean, 2017, he averaged 11 points per game. 2018, he averaged 11 points per game. And then 2022 in Phoenix, he averaged 10 in 9 games he played. Hasn't played in the league in 2 years. And unfortunately, things didn't really work out after an amazing college career at Wisconsin. I remember watching the Wisconsin, Frank Kaminsky and that Wisconsin-Kentucky game in the Final Four when undefeated Kentucky going up against Wisconsin and Frank Kaminsky took him out. Him and Sam Decker took him out. I remember Frank the Tank and how crazy he was, back in Wisconsin. Unfortunately, he went to the Hornets and things didn't really work out in the NBA for him. But, I don't know where he is now, but hopefully he's doing well. He's, 32 now? Maybe he's probably still playing somewhere overseas or whatever. I can see him being, overseas killing it. I don't really know. But shout out to Frank the Tank, man. I remember him in college. I remember he was such a huge deal, and people thought he was going to be, take over the league at one point. Unfortunately, didn't really work out that way. But I mean, he was on the 2021 Suns and made it all the way to the finals and played a couple games there. So shout out to Frank the Tank. With the 26th pick in the 2015 NBA redraft, the San Antonio Spurs select Emmanuel Moodier from overseas. I forgot exactly where he played, honestly, but he came from overseas. Originally the 7th overall pick, ends up going 26. Unfortunately, things didn't work out for Emmanuel Moodier, who was a number 2 player in the 2014 class, went overseas instead of college basketball, still ended up being a top 10 pick. Unfortunately, things didn't work out. I mean, he had a solid rookie year. 12 points per game, 5.5 assists, got rookie of the year votes. Second year, 11 points per game, and then Jamal Murray came around, and that was kind of where things ended. Did have a year in 2019 with New York where he averaged 15 points a game. Like, every year in his career, he was never horrible. Even in Utah, he averaged 7 in 54 games he played. So, he has some decent moments. I mean, career, he averages almost 11 points per game for his career in 300 games he played. That's not bad. It just, things didn't really work out for him sticking around in the league. But Emmanuel Moody was a bucket getter, and he was a really solid basketball player. I don't know. He's probably playing overseas right now, and I bet he's killing it overseas. It feels like the type of guy that he's going to go overseas and just put up some ridiculous numbers. I can see that happening. He's still 29 years old. He's still kind of young. So, yeah, shout out to Moodier. With the 27th pick in the 2015 redraft, the LA Lakers select Billy Hernan Gomez from Spain. Originally, the 35th pick jumps up to 27. Hernan Gomez, I remember his rookie year in New York. He was decent. Finished top 5 rookie of the year. He didn't play in this year's class. He came over a year later. Averaged 8 points and 7 rebounds. Just a big body for New York. And since then, unfortunately, just couldn't really stick around for some reason. I mean, he had some decent years, though. He had another year in 2022 in New Orleans. He averaged 9 points and almost 7 rebounds per game on 52% shooting. He was just a decent big body center, that could just collect rebounds and had a little bit of skill here and there. You know, so like he was solid. Played, averaged 7 points and almost 6 rebounds in almost 350 career games that he did play. He's still 31 years old. Maybe, I don't know if he has an NBA comeback in him, but I think he's playing overseas right now. I would bet he's probably playing overseas right now. I think he was playing not too long in the Olympics. You know, I think last Olympics, I think he was in there somewhere. But yeah, shout out to Brandon Gomez. I remember as a rookie, he came out and had a decent year, and it was like, dang, is Brandon Gomez going to be a good center around this league for a while? And he was for a little bit at time. With the 28th pick in the 2015 redraft, the Boston Celtics select Javonte Green from Radford. Green originally the last undrafted guy in this draft class, ended up going in the first round, late in the first round. Still has an NBA career. Now he's played 260 career games, 6 years, averaging 5 points in his career. Has some good years. I mean, he had a year in 2024 Chicago, averaged 12 points in 9 games. You know, just a really good energy wing that can defend, can get a good poster dunk in there, here and there. And is the last guy on the list that was recently playing in the NBA. I mean, he played last year, he played 68 games. So, I mean, Javonte Green is, shout out to Woo, first player, only player ever from Radford University. You know, a guy that was overseas for a while. I mean, undrafted in 2015, didn't come over to the NBA until 2019. And we got a chance with the Boston Celtics and took that. And since then has played over 200 games in his career, 250 games in his career. I mean, that's a really nice feat from Javonte. Shout out to Woo, you know, for coming out and, you know, having a really decent NBA career. With the 29th pick in the 2015 redraft, the Brooklyn Nets select Justice Winslow from Duke. Winslow, originally the 10th overall pick, drops to 29. I remember early years, Justice Winslow had a lot of potential, and people thought Winslow was going to be a really good player in this league. I mean, decent rookie year, got rookie of the year votes, averaged 11, 5, and 3 with a steal in his 2017 season. 2019, he averaged 12, 5, and 4 on decent shooting in 66 games, and it was like, dang. Injuries, unfortunately, took a lot of his career. You know, only had 3 years where he played more than 60 games. You know, had 2 years where he played less than 20 games due to injury. Hasn't played in the league in a couple seasons. He's been, I think, in the G League and overseas and stuff. But Winslow was a guy that, you know, we were first original, like well, not first original, but it was like a point forward hybrid of like a playmaker, defender, you know, big body guy that can get to the rim, lefty. Like, he had a very intriguing game. Like, I can definitely see why a lot of people were very high on Winslow, you know, early in his career in Miami. And I thought he could be pretty decent as well. Fortunately, things didn't work out. A lot of injuries and stuff happened. But yeah, Justice has some pretty decent moments. And with the 30th pick in the 2015 redraft, the Golden State Warriors select Rondé Hollis Jefferson from Arizona. RHJ, originally the 23rd pick, drops all the way to 30. Hollis Jefferson actually has like good, like, advanced numbers when you look at them, which is why I put him at 30, because I was like, dang, the advanced numbers are pretty decent. Played over 300 games, averaged 9 points. Had a year in Brooklyn in 2018, averaged 14 and 7 on 47% shooting from the field. Just a, you know, athletic energy wing that can defend really well. Unfortunately, just never really picked up the offense side of the ball in his career. Was more of a guy that gets to the basket, couldn't shoot the 3-ball, didn't shoot the 3-ball at all, never took over 1 3-pointer a game. At the wing position just wasn't something that you saw at that point, especially this point in the NBA where it was turning 2 3-point shooting and Steph and the Warriors were taking over. So yeah, fortunately things didn't work out, but we remember him from a couple of year or two ago in the Olympics for Team Jordan, where he was going absolutely nuts, looking like Kobe wearing 24 and, you know, killing it over there. And I think he's probably still killing it overseas. So shout out to Rondé, you know, for doing that. I remember his years in Brooklyn. He had again 1 year. I mean, 14 points per game in the league for 1 year. It's pretty nice. So shout out to Rondé. Yeah, it's going to be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn on notifications, doing all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps out a lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.